Welcome to the Frozen Layer podcast, brought to you by ZenTek Consultants CA, where we will discuss all things related to the CAD, BIM, and construction markets, with a little humor thrown in for good measure. I am your host, Steve Fahey. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Frozen Layer podcast. Our goal with the Frozen Layer is to share valuable information that our CAD, BIM construction clients will find useful and help them increase productivity, just like freezing a layer in CAD. Today, I'd like to welcome back Jim Coppinger. He was on our inaugural Frozen Layer podcast. Jim, welcome back.
And you were silly enough to ask me back again. What is wrong with you? You didn't learn the first time?
Well, it's been about a month, so I've had just enough time to think, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, so it'll at least be another 6 months after this one. But hello, everybody.
So I'd like to start today by discussing the topic of snow and how we had too much of it in Halifax on the weekend. I know a week and a half ago I looked out and there was nothing but green grass and my young fellow driving his dirt bike around the house, and now we have 2 feet of snow on the ground. So it started snowing on Friday and went to Monday. Parts of Nova Scotia got 5 feet of snow, 150 centimeters. It's just crazy. They're still digging out.
So it's nuts. Is your young one now tearing around on a snowmobile outside?
No, he's been bugging me to take the dirt bike out, and I said, Bud, you can't drive a dirt bike in 2 feet of snow. Well, I think you could try. I said, no.
I think you could try. You gotta appreciate the chutzpah if he wants to get out there and do it.
I like how he just didn't accept Dad's answer. Like, you got to push back a little, right? So
goes without saying.
Yeah. So the main reason I invited Jim back today is to expand a little bit on the TekFlow, because we did mention it on the first podcast, and I'd like to provide a little more information as to what it is and the value it brings. So if you wouldn't mind providing a quick overview to our listeners of what TekFlow is.
Yeah. So TekFlow is kind of a neat name that we came up with in our marketing group to kind of talk about helping people work their way through using the workflows that they already have in place in a smarter, faster, more efficient way. And what we did to kind of help them understand what we're talking about is we've been doing 2 recurring programs here at ZenTek, right? That we call our TekFlow for construction and our TekFlow for government and public facilities. And I think today we're probably going to be talking primarily about the government and public facilities on the show today. But the idea is that these are kind of, weekly or semi-weekly recurring mini webinars, right, where we show you guys how you can take your workflow processes, the tools, the files, the locations, all the data that you and your people need to access 100 times a day, and how you can organize and structure it in very simple to follow graphic interfaces that anybody can get to and work with almost no training. And you can really start to control the speed at which people can find things, the way that you need things done, the order they have to happen. And it eliminates just an immense amount of time and wasted effort and efficiencies that all of us struggle with in just our day-to-day operational processes. And I think, the other thing that we really do try and stress there is that for a lot of us, and this is going to sound a little bit weird, right? We're ZenTek, right? We're a technology company. The one thing I always try to explain to people is that the answer isn't always more software. A lot of times it's less software, right? Your people have a way of working today in simple programs that get the job done the way it needs to be done. You don't want to take that away from them and say, okay, now we're going to bring in this giant enterprise system that's going to cost, $600,000 a year, and we're going to have to retrain you from the ground up to do 100 new things. That's not efficiency, A lot of times it's about, okay, let's just put together a master level dashboard or a workflow system that makes it easier to get to the data in the format that it's already in the location that you already have it. And that's real efficiency without, loss of downtime and needs for just crazy amounts of training. So that's TekFlow in a nutshell.
Yep. And you're right. A lot of times, clients will have a problem. They'll find a solution. Somebody will come in with their software. Hey, I can solve all your problems. Isn't that great? They buy it. They spend all this money to implement it, train their staff. then they realize, yeah, we solved those 6 problems, but now we have 5 more related to the new solution. How do we solve those? So
That's
it's,
exactly well, and in a way, it's good, right? It does kind of give us a job, right?
yeah, it
We're
keeps
technical
everybody busy.
consultants. We'll help you solve those problems if that's where you are.
Yeah,
But even there, I think we can integrate these TekFlow workflows, Steve. One of the things is, people say, well, I've already invested in that big, ERP system. We already put that money in it. That's fine.
yeah,
You still got a lot of things going on outside of it, and we can link and connect directly to those ERP systems and directly inside of them. So a great example, right? And this is more on the construction side. But a lot of people in that space use Procore. And I can just link a dashboard directly to specific items, right? Whether it's,
yeah.
change orders or contracts or, RFIs, whatever it may be, right inside those big ERP systems. So they can just click and go right to a specific job, right to a specific order, whatever you need. So that's the kind of stuff we can do.
Yeah, it's good to get that point across, that we're not coming in to say, oh, you made a mistake buying that, you need to switch to this. It's, what are you using? Okay, how can we tie into that and work alongside of what you already have? So
Yeah.
that's a key thing to get across. So your latest update to TekFlow, titled Dashboards Driving Your Workflows, you made a lot of good points on with your overview of, wouldn't it be nice if you just point and click your way through the day using a PDF digital dashboard? Do you mind highlighting some of the benefits you see from using graphic workflows as opposed to what most people are currently doing today?
Yeah, I mean, it's the idea is, like I said, if we can get in and you can put together this simple graphic workflow. And what we mean by that is people can open up a PDF. And I think we'll probably get into later why PDFs, right? Why am I saying PDFs and not other formats? But they can go in and you can start at any level, right? You can use maps. So if you want to start at, a provincial or municipal level and lay out where all your buildings or your systems are and work your way inward to there to, specific office spaces and pieces of equipment, right? You can just click and, say, hey, I need to go to that county. I need to click on this region. I need to go to that school. I need to go to this floor. I need to go, and you can just click on these graphic images. And that's one way, right? We can completely steer and control people where they don't have to remember, right? What server, what path, what folder, what file name, which subfolder. Those things kill you. Right? They are just the biggest efficiency drain that we all face every single day. And I don't care what industry or trade you're working in, that's a problem for all of us. And we can also go in and we can build and structure these, which is kind of what I get into in this episode of the TekFlow. Flow charts, right? A very common way for us to kind of route out and figure out, like, how do I want Steve to do, A, B, C, D? I build a little flow chart. Steve's got to do, open the file, then he's got to edit this, he's got to add this information, and on and on. Well, we do that as like a layout and a design, but I can just take that flow chart and we can just make it a graphic. Instead of saying, hey, Steve has to go to this file in this folder, just click on that little box on your flowchart and it'll take them to that file and that folder, right? So you can take the layout, the design system that you already have for how you need people to accomplish tasks and perform, and you can just automate it right in the workflow. So you know that they're following step by step by step, hitting every key component that you need them to address. Some of the other things that we talked about in this episode are, I get into a little bit of what we call table of contents structures, right? Where you can basically, same thing, right? If you've got a written book, right, where you say, okay, here's a table of contents, it's a 600-page item, and here are all the things you need to do. I can create links just like you would with a normal table of contents in a Word document where I can click on the table of contents and it jumps me down to page 85. But instead of just clicking on that link and staying within the same document, I get them to click on that. They can go to a completely different web page. I get them to click on that link and go open a specific file, from a completely different server right from there, right? So you can build table of content structures, right? And it really just all comes down to dealing with different types of graphics, right? You can build standard button lists, right? That just say, hey, here's a list of, here's, training for this particular job, and here's where we store all of the data. Right? And maybe what you want people to do is you just want to guide them to the folders where stuff is stored today. So, hey, here's all of the, the list of, government educators that we have for the entire, municipality. It's a list of all their names. I can link to the folder that's in, or I can link to the file that's in.
Mm. Yeah.
I can even go into the file to a specific page within that file. It's, you can automate those processes. And that's really what we kind of try to focus on in this episode of TekFlow.
Yeah, it's like you say, so powerful. You can have links to a manufacturer who supplied a piece of equipment to you and have the warranty information, the brochure, anything you need it. And, like your flow charts, you can set them up to the client's preference. Do they like stacked buttons, link tables? It's so flexible of a solution that it really is applicable to almost any company in any industry. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break and listen to today's sponsor. When we get back, I got a few more questions to ask Jim, and as you just referenced, why PDF, and more specifically, why Bluebeam? We'll be right back. Today's Frozen Layer podcast is being brought to you by our ZenTek training division. ZenTek has a variety of training options available, from public courses, private group courses, on-demand courses, as well as custom courses to meet all your design needs. We offer training in Bluebeam, Autodesk, Procore, and BricsCAD, with options from beginner through to advanced. To learn more, visit our website, ZenTekConsultants.net, or give us a call, 866-824-4459, or you can email sales@ZenTekConsultants.net. ZenTek Consultants CA for all your technology consulting needs. Welcome back to the Frozen Layer podcast. We are talking about digital dashboards with Jim. So just before the commercial there, Jim, we were talking, and you'd kind of mentioned, why use a PDF? And my question is, why PDF? But even more specifically, why Bluebeam?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's really the first thing that everybody asks, right? Because in reality, this is kind of stuff. It's not, as brilliant as I like to think I am. I'm not. I'm not that creative that I come with something entirely new and amazing here. It's kind of an outgrowth of intranets, right? And we all had intranets, and we've all got websites and web pages and things that we can do this with, right? And SharePoint lists and so on. You can get a similar setup. The problem with that is, in order to work with those, you really do need, IT security level clearances. You've got to know HTML coding and some web-based authoring tools, and you got to have the rights to publish those. And there's a lot of work that goes into building and manipulating an intranet. If anybody's ever worked with one of those, it's a nightmare. They're great. The functionality is great once it's in place, but getting it updated or changed is why most of them have failed and most companies don't use them anymore. Initial setup, fantastic. You can put the IT guys on it, but the continual update and changes just make it unusable. So that's why PDF, right? Because we can get into PDF, and particularly, right, which answers your second question, why Bluebeam? Because it's such a powerful, low cost, easy to use PDF editor that has just incredible tools built right into its base system for creating these types of dashboards and links and interactivities that end users can go in. All right, all you got to do is just put the PDF in a folder where they have permissions to edit. That's it. Right, put it on SharePoint. They can go in. They can open up the PDF and say, hey, that link changes. We move that to a different location, or there's a new version of this file, or that guy's email address changed, or he left and now this woman is in place and we've got to change the email to her, whatever it may be. These are simple user level changes that people can go in and they can alter using base PDF tools that everybody's comfortable with. Right? Everybody on the planet uses PDFs. There's not one of us who doesn't use PDFs every single minute of every single day in the work world. So it's something people know how to use, and Bluebeam is really what we use here in house for building and editing these, and it's a few $100s a year for a seat of Bluebeam, and it's far and away the most powerful PDF editor on the market. It's in use by, I say, like 85% of all construction, architecture, engineering, design firms out there, and it's sinking its way very, very quickly into the government and public spaces as people start to see that, hey, this replaces I don't care what you're using, whether it's Adobe or Nitro Pro or whatever other PDF software editing you're using out there. This is way better, usually more cost effective, and it gives you tools and functionality you you can't even think about getting from the other ones. So a lot of people are even offsetting that low cost by just dumping those other platforms completely and using Bluebeam to handle it, even like their admin staff, right? Because then even your admins can go in and update, oh, this page change, or we added an addendum, or there was an alteration to the workflow process. It's very easy for anybody with any type of computer skills at all to go in and manipulate and update these base PDF files, right? Without needing to train HTML code and having to get IT involved. And it's a much simpler version of that intranet concept in a format that everybody can access.
Yeah, it really is a phenomenal program. It's one of those things that the more you learn it can do, you just sort of shake your head and say, it's supposed to be a PDF viewing tool, and it's just so flexible. And look at the flexibility of it from the digital dashboard standpoint, and conversations you and I have had about how it can be applied and clients that can benefit from it. We talk about you could use the digital dashboard and apply it to a municipality, to an entire province, building owner operators for people that own multiple apartment buildings, or assisted living or retirement homes. It's almost unlimited of how these things can be used to help access files and share information. What are your thoughts on what I just mentioned specifically, and what could you add to that?
I mean, I think, like you said, it really is it makes it hard for us, I think, to sometimes discuss this with people, because people expect, when you're talking about technology and software, you've got a problem, I've got an answer, right? Yep. It's kind of a one-to-one. And the thing is, this is so remarkably versatile. There is no workflow process out there, and I don't care what industry you're in or what you're doing. I can adapt this TekFlow concept to everything that everyone does every single day, right? Like I said, from government to construction to accounting to marketing, doesn't matter, right? And one of the things we're working with, we're doing a number of municipalities up in Canada where we're working with them on government-owned space inventory structures, right? They have hundreds of buildings that they're leasing out to clients, and they need to know how much square footage each client is using. It's all tied into the dashboard. Yeah. We're working on developing some tools and working with a couple other clients up in Canada where we're dealing with linear feet of sidewalk and how much how many storm drains they have across the entire municipality, right? They can easily just go in and run counts and do estimates and update those and pull data from that. It's just insane. And it does, like I said, it makes it a little bit harder sometimes at this end, right? Once we get into a conversation with someone about their needs, they love it because, oh my God, yes, this does everything I want it to do and things I didn't even imagine. It's at the 1,000-foot level, right? Where we're having a conversation like this here on the frozen layer, where we're like, oh, this is something you should look at. And people are like, well, why? That doesn't apply to me. We don't use, Bluebeam, and we're not, construction guy. Literally, I don't care who you are. If you're listening to this TekFlow concept is adaptable to your everyday workflow. And here's a stat that I throw out a lot when I'm talking with clients. And what it really comes down to is how much time, right, people lose just doing something as simple as looking for files, right? And the best estimates from Forbes and the other business, research magazines say at least 40% of every single user's day, 40% of your time is spent looking for files every day. That's every person. Every day. If you use a computer, and who in this day and age doesn't, regardless of what industry you're in, 40% of your time is spent looking for files. Well, right there, that's true efficiency. I can just cut 40% of your work time just by having a little button in front of them that they can just look at and go, that's what I need. Click the button. There's the file, right? That easy, that. And like I said, in terms of a real efficiency for everything that you're doing, it cuts out, the need for additional software, right? Taking this to the approach of do what you do the way that you do it, but just do it better, faster, easier. That's real efficiency, as like we said in the first half, as opposed to trying to bring in some massive, enterprise level system that's going to do everything to everybody, that's going to create 30 problems for the 2 that you solve, and it's going to cost you, $1 million a year to make that happen.
Yeah. So excellent overview. And what I took from it was scalable. And you think about the approach that, and we talk to clients, it really is the client's decision as, okay, I love the solution and I'd like to start with this one thing. So let's get Bluebeam in and let's do that one thing. And then once we understand that well, then we'll move to the next level. And it really is scalable to that level that you can decide what you want to do and when you do it, because it's all based on the same system. And you don't have to have everything done all at once and turned over. So it really gives a lot of flexibility to the client as to where they want to go with it.
Yeah, I think this is a great point. I mean, we have a lot of clients who are bringing us in to, help them develop, these dashboards, these digital dashboard systems for different levels of user and for different segments within their company, right? So, for example, we may be, we're working with, a provincial government, be like, hey, we need you to come in and set up a dashboard for our planning department. And we go in and we build that out and we get their workflow running and their processes done. And the great thing is we can integrate this both publicly and privately, right? So you can have either the same or similar PDFs that have different data, right? Half of which is available for your in-house people, right, with full information, and other stuff that's public facing, that you can publish out and make accessible to the public at large, in terms of budget and bids and if they need to put in applications for variances or whatever it may be, right, within your municipality. That's the kind of stuff that we can do here, right? And we start and we can do this one group at a time. So we put in, like I said, the one group that's working out really well, and I say, okay, now we want to go and we want to expand that over to law enforcement, and we want to start integrating, right? We've got street cameras set up all throughout the town, and we'd like to have a dashboard where they can sit there and just click on, hey, here's the street, here are the two cameras, which camera do you want to see? And they can just click button to button and see the web feed of those cameras. Yeah, we can absolutely integrate really anything you can imagine. Right.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah. And like I said, at this level, it's so hard to convince people that you really need to talk to us about anything you're doing. I don't care what it is. We can make it better.
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of touched on my next point there about, having the same data or the same base data and then applying, whether it's public facing or internal or private and still having that available and just putting the security features in of whether the public can see it or if it stays internal. And one of the aspects of that is by using the cloud as the storage and the sharing tool. So how do you see benefits, this side of it benefiting clients who integrate the cloud solution for storing the PDF?
Yeah, I think it's huge, right? Because like you said, there are two ways that you can kind of approach that from the tech side. So number one, you can have a single PDF. Right. And we can restrict, when you click on a button or a link or an image, we can set the security controls so that if you're an internal user, it works. But if you're an external user, it just doesn't work. So I can use the same PDF in both locations, or maybe there's full graphics and details that want to pull the same data, right? The same information, and you only want to show some of it to the public. Well, then we can create a secondary PDF, right? We can have, PDF A public and PDF A private, right? And depending on where their entry point is, we can have a master a PDF master dashboard, a top level dashboard for the public, and another one that you open up internally that point to different files and different locations that one or the other doesn't have access to. And I think a lot of this, I think your point is real important, Steve. When you're dealing with a system like Bluebeam, there are a lot of built-in cloud-based tools. In other words, Bluebeam has what they call Bluebeam Studio and Bluebeam Cloud, two different systems where you can actually store an unlimited amount of files and data and PDFs and literally anything else you want, drawings and contracts and documents and specifications, anything. You can put these out in the cloud at no additional fee. All right. And then it makes it real easy that no matter where people are in the world 24/7, they can always access this data. Again, you've got security systems and controls and who can edit and who can see. All of that ties in. But the data isn't being hosted on local servers where you've got to have VPN access, where you've got to get your IT guys involved to give people access and permissions, and you got to set them up as a guest user in Teams to get. You don't need any of that. You can just store this out in the cloud and just point to where it is. And a tool like Bluebeam will handle all the security settings, even down to folder level. I can hide folders in Bluebeam and say, look, if you're a public data consumer, right, who came in here, I have a contracts folder. It won't even show up on your system. You don't know it's there. But a private user, it's right there. They can go in and see what the contracts are. So we can set, different user groups and just full control on who can do what, when, where, why, and how. It's just an incredibly versatile system, and we can help you build out the workflow of your dreams. Put it that way. And that's why, I think if there's one takeaway I'd like people to have from this conversation, use your imagination. Right? Don't worry about what software can do what. The best thing to do is sit and say, look, in a perfect world, how would I like my people to work? Yeah. I'd like them to do this, then this, then this, then this, and I'd like that to happen when they click on that. 99% of the time, we can do exactly what you're asking for. Yeah. It's about sitting down and developing your ideal state. And then we're going to get you as close as humanly possible to that without having to get crazy installing like those big new software systems. Sometimes it's just so much better and easier to let people work the way they know how. Yeah. You've got subject matter experts that know what they're doing with the tools they already have, and they're doing it well. Yeah. Let's just make it go faster and easier for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to remind everybody that to learn more about TekFlow and our PDF digital dashboards, please visit our website, ZenTekConsultants.net, or of course you can always reach out to me directly and we can have a conversation. So before we wrap up here today, Jim, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you would like to add? I think we covered an awful lot, but there's always one thing that you might miss.
You can always trust Jim to cover an awful lot. Talking is what I do. Now, here's what I will say, right? We're talking about Bluebeam and using Bluebeam Review as our primary method for creating and working and manipulating these. And I will say that you don't need it. Here's the important thing, right? People can go in once we generate these PDFs, right? We would use Bluebeam to build it for you, but once we put it out, it doesn't matter what people access it with. If people who are hitting these PDFs and go into these workflows that don't have Bluebeam, doesn't matter. It's a standard PDF. It's a universal document format, right? Mm-hmm. Every PDF reader, the free Adobe Acrobat one, the Nitro Pro free one, the advanced Acrobats, it doesn't matter. They all will access and work with the same PDFs. The links will work, the connection will work. People will be able to access these workflows with any tool. Having said that, I think everybody should have Bluebeam. Steve, you can give an idea of the price, right? But really, it's a couple $100 a year to get out there and have a system that it's gives you unlimited cloud-based storage. It gives you quantity takeoff and estimating functionality. It gives you real-time field to office markup and photos and things and the ability to chat back and forth field to office right in the system. Right? You can do document overlays and document compares, and all of this can be tied in to these dynamic digital dashboards and these TekFlow processes in what is far and away the most versatile and powerful set of tools you're ever going to have for next to nothing. It's crazy how much you get out of a system like Bluebeam.
Yeah. No. Just in reference to your dollars, when we convert it into the Canadian dollar, it gets a little bit higher, but still very reasonable. I think you're $500-600 for the top line, most powerful Bluebeam option. So when you compare it to the other solutions that you have in-house that you're paying, thousands of dollars a year for, and you look at the flexibility and the solutions it can help deliver, it's well worth every dollar that you spend on it.
Yeah. And listen, something like that, right? Here's what I will say. When you get into those enterprise level document control, workflow control, system management, budgeting, the things that do all the stuff we're talking about with TekFlow, these all-in-one systems, some of those can cost $500,000 to $1 million a year.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And dedicated users that need to be trained and have to use it every day, or they fall behind and can't keep up with it.
Yep. And just those costs multiply by 10. Yep. And that's what it's really going to cost you. It's crazy.
Yep, it really is. So I'd like to thank you for joining me today on the Frozen Layer.
It's not like I had any other work to do. I don't do anything.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, and you were nice to me, so you never know. I might have you back before 6 months is up. So
no.
You didn't give me a hard time.
We can fix that. There's still time.
We haven't stopped yet. All right. Until next time, keep freezing those layers.